once you realize we're at this stage of decline, how do you reverse it? Yes. So I'd like to conclude by talking about the economic theories, nations of the wealth of nations, the industry, because this, I think, perhaps in a capitalistic world, yes, the original wealth of wealth.
This is what it is, yes.
In an age of severe capitalism, materialism, I think this is something that Ibn Khaldun really, he leaves a mark.
Yes, he does.
He leaves a mark.
I mean,
so what does he say about
the one major thing that it's that everyone, I'm sure, takes from the book is the tax. That's the one major thing that he's, well, not necessarily, he doesn't necessarily stress taxes, but he stresses the sense of justice.
Yes.
And one of those in the economic sphere of the government, because he puts two pillars of the government. There's security, so the ministry, and then there's income, the economy. And within the economic sphere, the very important part that the justice in the economic sphere that is very important is tax. And he says lower taxes encourage growth, encourage people to go out and go on their economic ventures.
What fantastic, because again, you cannot talk about civilization without talking about the fiscal, economic dimensions of it. And he dissects it really very, very beautifully, exceptionally.
As I said in the beginning of the book, already in the beginning, which I found it fascinating when I was reading it, and then I found in the beginning, what he talks about, why I say, and not just me, he's considered, this book, especially the economic section of it, is considered really wealth of nations before the wealth of nations.
Yes.
Is he speaks about division of labor, not as extensively as Adam Smith, but he still lays out, as I said, the general principles, the core basic tenets of economics, which he speaks about labor. Labor is very important. And he speaks about then further division of labor, how one person, one human being cannot provide for themselves. They need to come together, they need to cooperate to provide for themselves. But what happens, amazingly, is that when they come together to cooperate, they are able to not just provide for themselves, they're able to also provide for a greater amount of themselves, for a greater amount of people, which is the division of labor, which can happen through specialization, which can happen through division of labor. No.
So you're right, Yasser, about this was the wealth of nations before the wealth of nations.
Yes.
Before Adam Smith.
Yes.
Division of labor.
This video is sponsored by the Muqaddima program.
For nearly 7 centuries, Ibn Khaldun's Muqaddima has been read and studied by scholars and students of history, sociology, politics and economics as the single most authoritative and astounding work of classical scholarship in the field of history.
Embark on an enlightening educational venture led by Muslim scholars and teachers delving into Islamic history, sociology, economics and beyond. Engage with cutting-edge learning cues and multimedia components, allowing for a deeper understanding of the topics. Distinguish between the lies and the truths of the narratives told, between reliable and unreliable sources. Equip yourself with the skills to conduct deep research and build confidence to combat Islamophobia. Come and strengthen your Muslim identity today. Grab the course in the video description.
You have Karl Marx and all of these different angles
that stress labor.
Absolutely.
He also stresses labor, not to the extent of the socialist idea, but he says it's important. Without labor, the natural resources are there, fine, but without labor, nothing's going to get done. So he does put a serious stress on labor, not in the socialist communist sense, but he does, as I said.
And as you said, not like it's not a confrontational Hegelian kind
very
of
interesting.
dynamic.
Yes, now that
it's
you
a
mention
cooperative one.
With regards to classes.
It's a cooperative one, yes. It's not, for example, what do you call them again? What do you call in Marxist terms? What are they called again?
The classes.
Yes.
The clashes of classes, as in it's. You mean the bourgeoisie?
Bourgeoisie, exactly. Yes, yeah. So he doesn't talk of them as being necessarily evil, but they have a position. And he talks of, if you are of the working class, do not try and go out of your way to upset them.
Yes.
Make them happy within bounds. Okay, do not go against them because they will crush you.
And on the flip side, if you are in that position, do not oppress.
Yes, because there are almost, you could say, and this is where perhaps this Islamic essence shines a bit more. There is an element of barakah in how you consume wealth. If you acquire wealth in unethical means, your wealth will not be blessed and you will lose it somehow. And if you acquire, because the wealth of people is accompanied by their energy. So if you're cheating them, if you're abusing, if you're mistreating them, your wealth in itself, unethically sourced, will perish.
Okay. And you see, the Islamic element, that's the Islamic element. That's what I meant.
This is modern aspects of what do you call it?
Don't do it.
Ethical. No, there's something. There's a trade. Ethical trade.
There is.
Ethical. Well, ethical is always put. So
fair
ethical
trade.
banking.
Fair
Oh,
trade.
you mean fair?
Exactly,
Okay,
yeah.
fair trade.
Fair trade. Very good. That's it. But not only that. I mean, look at that. Also, the whole issue of again trying to eradicate his Islam. That is an Islamic element which he actually goes back to. He says it, he doesn't hide it. It's not like, by the way, he's clearly an Islamically minded person who actually derives all his understanding and of the world and what's happening around him from Islam. Clearly, he makes it very clear in his book. So how can you avoid all that? How can you, if you leave this out, that would be half this book. It would be half this book. So it's dangerous, I find, the way that this Western-minded non-Muslims look at him and try to interpret and analyze in their way of thinking.
But he does a great job. He does a great job despite being a Muslim, clearly.
Exactly.
And he does a great job of making it intelligible for the secular-minded capitalist to understand that.
Well, I don't think he was thinking of that.
Well, he wasn't, but
in the materialist sense.
it's the genius of his work that he can appeal to the Muslim who knows what barakah is.
Yes.
And would appreciate if I sell something which is wrong or in the wrong way.
Ibn Khaldun, sorry, that's not Ibn Khaldun. That is Islam. Islam appeals to every human
without
being.
doubt. But what I'm saying is, as an author, me as a Muslim reading that, I understand the concept of barakah. If I cheat clients, the wealth would diminish somehow. I would lose it because the barakah is gone.
Right.
But if you don't have that grounding, you could still appreciate what he's saying. Because he's putting it in terms that are very logical.
A very materialistic logical,
If you're exploiting your workforce, if you're not providing fair wages, if you are taking from them, if you're trampling upon them, your enterprise will suffer.
Yeah.
And we see it today.
And it's brilliant because the thing is, he talks about exactly that with regards to the institution of government. That is the government and the population. Again, two pillars. They're very important. They're in a relationship of benefiting each other.
Yes.
So the wealth that the population makes goes to the government. However, the government should not hoard it. It should give it back, again, public spending. It should give it back to the public in different projects whatsoever. The point is the money flows through government to the population,
very realistic,
back to the government, back to population.
Very pragmatic, because some would say, isn't this naive? This is not naive, it's very pragmatic and realistic.
Yes.
Because naivety would be what the communists made out of it. You know, the idea of communism later, or the pseudo-communism, because communism would have been still.
Exactly.
So, yeah, the idea. So this is actually very pragmatic. He's a very pragmatic, down-to-earth person. And that's why Western-minded secularists cannot understand that he is actually a Muslim-minded, religious person. So he becomes then a bit superstitious in that way. He might be intelligent, but he's a bit superstitious, right? But he's actually religious. Wow, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
The framework he has is constructive, because he's not putting the proletariat against the bourgeoisie.
He's
saying you work together, and you make sure on your end of the spectrum, do the right thing. If you're a worker, if you're a working class person, don't try to destroy the establishment, because you would suffer as a result of that.
That's right.
Do your best to do an honest labor, to earn your wage honestly, and do not go out of your way again to attack or to anger those above, because they'll crush you. As you said, Yasser, if you are of those who are employing of the government sector, don't take advantage of people who are serving you, because you will also suffer. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Exactly.
And it's one that you need the other. So it's a constructive relationship, unlike communism and socialism, which actually is down with the rich, and capitalism, which exploits the working class.
Extremes.
These are extremes.
That's what they are. Yeah.
And he gives a very beautiful balance. And I think, honestly, there's an element of capitalism today which is more conscious of this. They try to be fair to their employees.
That's exactly what I wanted to
They try to be more inclusive. They try to be more a social contract kind of approach to things in society.
It's interesting.
Without considering
it's interesting because Ibn Khaldun. So you have the capitalist, the ultra extreme materialist idea with regards to exploiting the peoples, which is a dominant idea with regards to the economic field. And now you have the development of ethical banking, so there's a moral dimension of capitalism. But Ibn Khaldun, so that's what you say, with regards to removing his religious aspect, you're removing the moral dimension of Ibn Khaldun and his work. You're just looking at it from a materialist perspective. Absolutely. But if you include the Islam, Islam, which provides it with, which imbues it with a moral dimension, then you get there your ethical economy.
But then you promote Islam, and that's a problem.
Exactly.
So you wouldn't promote Islam and a Muslim-minded person. You would promote his ideas, which seem to be going together with the ethical banking, ethical modern thinking, humanism. This type of that's cool. That's fine. That's all right. But again, this God of God, this word, this concept of God is a problem.
Dr. Stef is removed. We replace God with the universe.
Yes.
We replace barakah with ethical. We replace it with nature, exactly. Yeah. And we talk of these as very kind of new age, abstract. Yeah. Yes. But the point is, at the very core element is still there. So, for example, people know today if somebody tweets of slave labor, maybe in Nike or Adidas workshops, it has a huge impact on the sales of these products. Right? So that's, from a Muslim perspective, it's barakah being taken away from you. Yeah. From a capitalistic perspective, this is money being taken away because of the perceived injustice that's happening under your brand. So even though they may not have the Islamic underground underpinnings, you can still see there's a logical cause and effect. And an incentive, a financial incentive to behave yourself as a corporation. It's a question of the age right now. Corporations rule the world, right? And John Perkins, a famous author, he wrote a very famous book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Oh, I see him, yes.
Yes, he talks of America being a corporate empire. It's ruled by corporations, no longer armies, corporations. So these corporations need to know how to navigate and how to maintain their dominance. And that requires a lot of what Ibn Khaldun mentions here comes into play. And I would assume that they would have read Ibn Khaldun and actually taken his lessons and tips for how to maintain themselves.
For almost 7 centuries, the Muqaddima has been widely regarded as the earliest and most authoritative and seminal text in the fields of sociology and history, outlining the core principles and methods needed to evaluate and convey history with a more objective and critical eye. Its celebrated author, Ibn Khaldun, pioneered a revolutionary approach to the study of history and is considered by some historians to be one of the most influential thinkers in his field. Now, for the very first time, students of Islamic history will have the rare and unique opportunity to study this monumental and classical work of genius under the tutelage and guidance of experts in the field of research and education. We offer a wide and varied range of learning experiences as part of the program, with options for students to participate in person during our on-site lessons in London or remotely via our private and secured live streaming platform. Classes are delivered on a fortnightly basis, and all students enrolling onto the program shall receive a complete learning resource pack, including coursebooks, timetables, and admission onto the online student portal. The annual program is available to students as a certificate or a diploma package, with varying subjects and module components, as well as a practical assessment unit that will culminate in the launch of student-led history projects and publications, following a panel presentation before a group of assessors. This is a unique opportunity to discover and immerse yourself into the world of Islamic historiography under the tutelage and guidance of experts who will assist you in acquiring the core skills and competencies necessary to conduct your own research and launch your own initiatives. To find out more about the Muqaddima program or to enlist yourself onto this unique and fantastic learning journey, please visit our website at www.al-Muqaddima.com, where you will be able to download our program prospectus, register your interest by submitting an application directly via the online enrollment form.